today is our day. Celeste and I are talking about the apartment. So, welcome
Yay.
and thank you for joining us. Let's see, today is the 22nd of February, 2026, which is kind of an auspicious day.
It is.
And yeah, and the apartment came out in 1960. So it was made at a time when there was quite a bit of social change beginning,
Yeah.
and the sexual revolution hadn't quite happened yet, but it was sort of on the cusp of it. And and there are some issues about affairs and that kind of thing in this movie. Now, I want to read to you a summary of the movie that is generated by a AI generated from lots of reviews. Okay. And I thought that this one was better, a little bit better than the description in Internet Movie Database.
Yeah.
Reviewers say The Apartment is acclaimed for its sharp social satire and poignant drama. Satire is a comedy of ideas,
Yes.
exploring themes of corporate immorality and love's complexities. Praised for its witty script and Billy Wilder's direction, the film features standout performances by Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine.
Yep.
Critics appreciate its balance of humor and serious undertones, deeming it a timeless classic.
Yep.
Some note its relevance to modern day workplace issues like sexual harassment. Despite varied opinions on its comedy, the overall reception remains highly positive, which is an understatement since it's in the National Film Registry. It
Yes.
is on multiple AFI lists for multiple years
Right.
because they redo those lists every so often on internet on American Film Institute.
Yeah.
It's also in the book 1001 Movies That You Should See Before You
Right.
Die.
Yeah. It's
It's probably
everywhere.
it it's probably on a lot of other lists. I did not check the Criterion collection, so I don't know if it's there. And so this movie is really important for a lot of different reasons. It's not just the performances, but it's the statement about how pretty much how men just men will be men, and
Right.
they're
Well, it also
irresponsible.
to me it's a statement of how men have had to work their way up the corporate ladder
Yeah.
by favors,
Yes.
you know.
Right.
And it's not by your credentials or your work that you've done.
Right.
It's an abusive social situation.
It's an abusive social situation for both men and
It
women.
is. It's a very abusive situation, social situation, corporate situation, office manipulations. It's
Yeah.
it's just so blatant. And I think that's a big reason, especially for 1960, considering that the code system was still kind of hanging around there.
Yeah.
And and like you say, it's um the whole idea of how the men, when you have a certain position, it's okay to treat, say, your secretaries or any of the women that work within that company
Yeah.
and
Now,
or building too.
yeah, now one thing that description that I read did not explain is Jack Lemmon's character, C.C. Baxter. They call him
Baxter.
Buddy Boy.
Buddy
Men
boy.
call him Buddy Boy. That's not his name. His real name is Calvin something. But Baxter's mostly what people call him. And he has an apartment. It's nice. But before the movie has started, there are four executives who have taken advantage of him. It's He explains how it started. Somebody needed a place to change because he and his wife were going to go off to the opera or something,
Right.
and they borrowed his apartment.
Right.
Well, then these four executives decide, let's use it for our sexual assignations.
Right.
And so
And the reason why it gets chosen, because the one guy that did start, it's the right location. It's the central location for,
for a lot of different
yeah,
things, because
yeah,
it's not too far from Central Park.
right. Right.
It's not, and it's not a lavish apartment
No,
building,
no,
but it's comfortable. His apartment is comfortable.
right,
Now, so that's kind of how it started. And the main thing is he has to pass his key off to whoever's going to use his apartment in the early evening, and they're supposed to be gone by 8, but of course the very first guy that we
right.
see, it's after 9 o'clock,
And he's
it's
out there
almost,
waiting,
yeah,
and the whole
and it's
code is
raining.
it's raining, it's cold, and they're supposed to leave the key under his doormat just outside the
Right,
door so he can get in himself
right,
when the tryst is done.
right,
But as he explains, the voiceover, um, on many occasions, it does not, the timing is completely off.
right.
And they're late and they're taking their time, um and he's
They're
frustrated. You can
they're
tell he's frustrated,
yeah.
but at the same time, he makes it very clear, how else am I supposed to work my way up in the company?
Yeah. Now this is an insurance. He works for an insurance company,
Yeah.
and it's in a kind of a high-rise building
Yeah.
in New
Yeah.
York City, and he knows all these statistics because of the job that he does.
It does.
But yeah, so one of the first thing that happens is he's had to stand out there in the rain
Right.
waiting for this guy. He gets in, he gets to eat his dinner, but he gets into bed and it's 11 o'clock at night. And one
Right.
of the guys calls him and says, I've got this girl and she looks like Marilyn Monroe and I can't
Right.
pass this up. You need to let me come and use your
I mean,
apartment.
they're just they're selfish. They're
Yes,
narcissistic and they're selfish.
yes, yes,
And they could care less what his needs or wants are.
right,
And of course, they manipulate the guy that calls him at 11 o'clock at night is like, you need to get out. I promise it won't be very long. So of course he drudges himself up and puts kind of warm clothes on, and it's his neighbors are really interesting because they're a couple. He's a doctor, and they're Jewish, and they don't really see it for some reason. They always seem to miss the comings and goings in the hallway,
yeah,
so they assume all the activity that's happening in the apartment is him,
right,
and that he's a womanizer.
right,
So the doctor's wife kind of snubs him quite often because she thinks he's a cad.
right,
And so that's an interesting narrative, that he doesn't even stand up for himself with his neighbors.
right.
I mean,
And
that's some of the point of this film, is how he just is his this doormat who just
right.
allows people to walk all over him, so that they do hold their word up. They do give him recommendations. They do
Right.
write out recommendations for him.
Right.
And the thing that's so interesting I see about this film too is he knows all the dirt on these four guys,
Oh, yeah.
and
And
they
he's
don't treat him like he has any power.
exactly. Now let's bring in Shirley MacLaine here because she happens to be one of the elevator operators. It's
Right.
during the time
And
when
they
they
talk
still
every day, twice a day.
right. And
They talk
it's
when
still
he's
the
coming
time
up.
when they have elevator operators.
Yes, right. They talk when, they go up, and he's the only one that chit chats with her. Everybody else
Right.
just treats her like she's nothing because she's the elevator girl.
And one of the four of the terrible guys
Yes.
always pats her on the butt
Yeah, and
when he
she's just like,
leaves.
now, 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 she tells him not to do that. And he's just like, one of these days I'm gonna, get her. And the thing that so I find interesting, as critics and so many people have said about this movie, is the subject matter would normally have been not deemed appropriate to make a film out of.
Right.
And Billy Wilder and IAL Diamond, who
Right.
wrote this, somehow was able to create this balance in kind of, I really like the quote from Jack Lemmon. He, Billy Wilder, the writer, also, both of these men made a rose out of a trash can
Yeah.
because most people would see it as a deplorable film. The subject matter is very questionable, especially for 1960.
Yeah.
And the blatantness of how all these executives treat these women. And this is the other thing that I really like about this movie is it is so obviously pointing at the men being the predators
Yes.
and the women are the victims.
Well, and the woman who works the telephone, she's the telephone
She's the
operator.
telephone operator, yeah,
She
the switchboard.
seems to just be going along
Oh,
with
yeah.
it.
She's like, because she tells a story about how, oh, he was going to take me to this five-star restaurant. And what
Right.
did he take me for? Burgers.
And
And
then
she seemed like she agreed with it. She was like, whatever.
to this shabby
Yeah, and
apartment.
then he takes me to this apartment, and
Right.
she's like, I don't even know what that is, and the
And
girl,
she's saying that right in front of Jack Lemmon.
yeah, she's just saying it in front of the girls at the switchboard stuff, and Jack Lemmon's standing there, and he's kind of like,
Yeah, it's
obviously
when
doesn't know
she
whose
and another
apartment
woman
it
are
is.
leaving work that she's saying all
Yeah,
this stuff.
it's so funny because the other girl's kind of looking at her like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, really, because they
Because she's not
know.
involved with the trysts, her
Yeah.
coworker,
And the women know these guys are married, so why are they
right.
doing it?
Right. And it kind of I just think it's really interesting how it's very very obvious who the predators are
Yeah.
because they're prying on the women and using them for whatever they need, their narcissistic ways. They're a predator to Jack Lemmon's character,
Right.
Baxter, and using him and manipulating him. If you do this for us, we'll make sure you get promotions. You
Which they
know,
do, but
they do, but still, it's pretty slimy.
well, and part of the reason why it happens that he gets the promotion is because the guy who is the head of the company, Sheldrake, played by Fred MacMurray,
Sheldrake. Right.
has figured out the whole
Well,
scheme
he
of
hears
them
the
using.
rumor mill.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hears the rumor mill, and then he calls him. Here he is. He has this cold because of one of the nights he has to stay out past his time. It was goes out in the freezing cold, ends up getting a cold, and he's Jack Lemmon.
Because he can't
Billy
get back into his
Wilder,
apartment
right.
because the guy
And
puts
Billy
the one.
Wilder is absolutely right about Jack Lemmon
Yeah.
because there's this scene, he's got this cold the next day, and he's and he's just kind of not feeling good, and he's just and he's trying to go through because he has to rearrange because he gets a phone call from one of the guys. Hey, is my Wednesday still on? And he goes, it can't be. I've got a cold. I can't. I have to be home to rest.
Excuse me.
Well, you promised me, blah, blah, blah. So he has to make all these balancing phone calls to all the other guys to rearrange it so he can have his Wednesday night at home. And it's a hysterical scene
Right.
because there's not a lot of talking. Jack Lemmon is trying to go through the Rolodex and he's like, I can't see. I mean, no verbal whatsoever, and it's hysterical.
From Mr. Dobish.
Who, Mr. Dobich? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Commander of Public Relations.
He is such, and Billy Wilder said it. He said you could give Jack Lemmon anything to do and he would make it perfect.
Yes.
Because in the trivia it talks about how other actors were trying to ad lib and they'd forget their lines. However, Jack Lemmon could ad lib and still get all his lines within the ad libbing.
Right.
I kind of heard this about Jack Lemmon. I think Walter Matthau talked about he was pretty sure that Jack Lemmon had some sort of photographic memory
Mm-hmm.
because they talked about how he could read scripts through once and he could just do it.
He would know.
So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of why he could do this ad libbing and still have his lines in his head.
Yeah, well, the thing is that Billy Wilder and Mr. Diamond did not like actors to change their
No,
lines,
they didn't. Right.
but the ad-libbing that Jack Lemmon does is with his body language, with his
Right.
facial expressions. That's the ad-libbing that he does.
And he could still get everything. And Billy Wilder was known. I've seen past interviews with him. He praises certain actors that he loved to work with, and Jack Lemmon was definitely one of them. And he
Yes.
said Jack Lemmon was just one of those guys that he understood the character immediately. He understood exactly
Mhm.
what he was supposed to do without any really direction. And he goes,
Mhm.
and I knew I could trust him with my work.
Right.
And he says, and I never had to worry about that with him. Now there is a trivia where Shirley MacLaine was trying to do ad lib, and he was like, "But you forgot the line," and there was a couple times they had to do several takes because
There was one word
she
she
kept
forgot.
forgetting one word,
Right. Yeah.
But what's so interesting is I think that scene where he's got this cold, he's trying to balance these four men to use the apartment, blah, blah, blah. That is the scene of how much stress also this is on him.
Really. Yeah.
So, um, that's one of the things that, I think is really a really good telling scene is at first, they kind of make it seem, he kind of seems like, oh, okay, whatever. But then the more they want to use his apartment, the more stress it puts on him.
Yes.
And he's exhausted
And
because
then
they don't care what time they leave his apartment. They don't care how many times because it's been this, you can tell it's been this gradual taking advantage of him.
yeah, I mean, and they use his liquor and his food, and they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
reimburse
They
him.
never reimburse him. Right.
So that
Oh,
so
hey,
that
you're out of blah, blah, blah. Okay.
okay,
They
have this thing
never,
ready for next time. Yeah.
right. And can you
Yeah.
make sure you have some more champagne? You know,
Yeah.
things like that.
So
Right.
so then it gets even more stressful on that very day when he's called up to Sheldrake's office
Right. Right.
and Sheldrake tells him he knows something's going on
Yeah.
and
Yep.
and it has to do with a key and he wants to use the apartment now
Right.
because so he gets his promotion but it's like a
Right.
fifth person
Right.
and
Well, actually, Sheldrake makes it very clear he wants to be the only one.
yeah, I think that that
And
some of the
so
other
it kind
guys,
of happens that way that these other guys start falling off and then they become very angry about it.
yeah, yeah. Well, and then they don't know that it's Sheldrake that has,
No, they have no
yeah.
idea
Um,
what the shift happened. But in the meantime, you're also getting the very large impression. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I just got a promotion." So now he's like, "Oh, now I can let Fran know I like her
right.
and I would like to ask her out."
Yeah.
And
Well, the
and
whole
it's
thing
so sweet.
with
It's a
Sheldrake giving him the tickets, the
tickets to
theater
Music
tickets.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, and he asks her to go, and she tells him, "Well, I've got,
Yeah.
another, but I'll try to make it." And then, of course, she doesn't show up. But the thing is that he is unaware that Fran is the one.
Completely unaware. And then you see it where you can tell that Miss
Kubelik.
Kubelik, yeah. How when they show, because she's like, no, I've got this other date, but I'll try to make it. Well, they show that all of a sudden now it's her and Sheldrake in the bar in a corner, keeping it, he's trying to keep it as much a secret as possible. And the reason why you realize that she thinks she can make this date with him to Music Man is because she's planning on breaking up with Sheldrake.
Right.
And he talks her into not breaking up with him. Well, do you love me? Do you love
He's
me?
he's
He's
manipulative.
horrible. He's
Oh,
so
yeah.
horrible. And he's like, because if you love me, and he tells her all these, if you love me, you would do this. And if you love me, you would do that. And so she's emotionally being manipulated at every turn from Sheldrake.
Mm-hmm.
She is not like some of these other girls who I think they know what game they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
But she really believes that he will leave his wife for her.
Mm-hmm.
And he does the whole song and dance of, well, it's just not the right timing.
Right.
What do you expect me to do? It's been a 12-year marriage. I have children and blah, blah, blah. But, there's just got to be the right way to do it. All those things.
Right.
And so she's like strung along again. And then, of course, they go to the apartment and they show Baxter out there waiting for her to go into the theater. And of course, she doesn't show up. And he's put out, of course. He feels sad because he's like, oh, I finally can get this date with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, uh, this movie takes prior just to Christmas. So then they have this Christmas party, and everyone's partying. That's in the days when it didn't matter if you were drinking in the office or not.
Right.
And he overhears the conversation between Fran, Shirley MacLaine, and Sheldrake's secretary because she knows they're together. And so she proceeds to tell her how many other women there have been, and she was one of them. And he is not basically going to leave his wife for you
Yeah.
because that's what he has told all of us.
Right. Well, it's the mirror. It's the broken mirror
Well,
when
not quite yet. Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
That's when
So
he realizes.
I love that scene too. So then Sheldrake comes in to talk to him because it was that night, Music Man, he comes back, they're not there, he finds her compact.
Right.
And so he's like, oh, okay, well, it's Sheldrake's girl. I'll just give it to him when I see him later.
Right.
And he hands it to him, and Sheldrake's like, oh, yeah, can you believe it? She threw it at me. Like the audacity that she had to throw it at me because she actually thinks I'm going to break up my life for her.
Right.
And Jack Lemmon, you can see the change in him when he's just like,
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
am I playing a part of here?
Yeah. And then it's at the Christmas party when she
Yeah.
hands him her compact with the mirror.
Right.
The broken
Because
mirror.
he's all excited because he bought this new hat and he's talking to her and he's excited that she's with him and talking to him. And,
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think of my hat? And she goes, well, here. And then she hands the compact and it's the cracked mirror
Right.
from throwing it at Sheldrake. And that's a really good scene too, because you see his heart is broken.
Yeah, he's devastated.
He's so devastated that she's the one that's with Sheldrake. And he cares about her already. And he already knows the game that Sheldrake is playing with her.
Yeah.
So then he has this dilemma of, what do I do about it? Right?
Well, yeah, and Sheldrake has already arranged for to go to his apartment on Christmas Eve.
On Christmas Eve, right. Which is another really interesting scene because, he's got her convinced that after Christmas, blah, 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 they're having this conversation. Sheldrake and Fran are having this conversation in the apartment, and she gives him a Christmas present. And you can see she's sad because I'm pretty sure at this point she's starting to figure it out.
Oh, yeah. She's already figured.
And this is so key. She gives him a Christmas present. It's this album of an artist that they mutually like. Oh, well, how about we just leave it here? And it can be here and we can play it when we come here.
Yeah.
She's like, okay. And he goes, oh, yeah, I got you something too. And he gets out his wallet and hands her $100 bill.
Right.
And she's just like, and he goes, you go buy whatever you want. Isn't that great? Yeah, you can have that money. And it's like this whole thing comes clear to
The
her.
look on her
Oh, it's so
face.
good. Because, she realizes where she really stands.
Yeah, it's that and that his secretary told her
Right.
the truth.
Well, and I think she didn't want to believe it
Right.
because he had her convinced, no, this is love, and
Hmm.
this is the way
Hmm.
it has to be for a while until we can tell the truth. And, I can arrange it so that I can let it down easy to my wife and all that BS, right?
Right. Hmm.
And once again, I think it's so amazing that two men wrote this film because they were not the only characters that they are kind to is Jack Lemmon and the doctor.
Right.
Those are the only two men that are redeemable, kind people.
Right.
And all the other executive men that take advantage of the women and take advantage of him are total scuzzbags.
Yes, really.
And it's so obvious when he gives her that. I mean, if you're seeing that scene and that doesn't affect you, then you don't get it.
Yeah,
Because absolutely it's a gut punch.
it is. It
It's
is.
a real, and that was such. I know Fred MacMurray did not play this kind of parts ever again because he had women and getting hate mail because he had already had these contracts with Disney.
Yeah.
And he was a last minute fill in to play Sheldrake. It was supposed to be Paul Douglas, but Paul Douglas died of a heart attack before he could even start filming.
Right.
So, you know, Billy Wilder had worked with Fred MacMurray before and knew he could do it.
Well, and it's not the first time that Fred MacMurray played kind of a
Well, but
bankrupt
remember,
character.
in between, he did, Double
Double
Indemnity, but
indemnity.
then in between there, he did all these Disney things, and so women, mothers were angry with him. There was actually a scene where a woman walked up and hit him with her handbag and said, "I took my kids to see this movie thinking it was at Disney." And in my mind, I'm like, "You
You
didn't
weren't,
find out what the film was about, you
you
ding
didn't pay
dong."
attention? Yeah.
So he vowed he would never ruin that kind of image again because he cared about families. And
Right.
it wasn't too long after he made this film that he started that show Father Knows Best,
Right.
which was a
Yeah.
huge hit.
Yeah.
So, but he still plays this. I mean, I feel like in so many ways Fred MacMurray was an underrated actor
Yeah.
because he was great at comedy. He was great at playing the cad.
Hmm.
He was great in Double Indemnity, where he was a murderer. He
Yeah.
was a co-conspirator in a murder, and all of these things that I think I'm really glad he ended up in this role, and I'm sorry that he felt bad about playing it because he's really good at it.
He is. Now we haven't talked about Shirley MacLaine, and I love her in this
Oh my
part.
gosh, this is the movie I think that kind of
This,
skyrockets her
yeah,
because
and
she's so talented.
she is, and I think it's really interesting that Jack Lemmon's character Baxter sees her for who she really is. He's the
Absolutely
only
does.
one who
He
sees her for
is.
who she
Right.
really is.
He
But
sees her
she's so
kindness.
demoralized on that Christmas Eve
Right.
that she
Right.
doesn't leave the apartment at the same time as Fred MacMurray, and then she sees the sleeping pills and she tries to commit
Well,
suicide.
yeah, he's out drowning his sorrows, knowing that this woman who he is so attracted to is in his apartment on Christmas Eve with his horrible boss.
Yeah.
And so he's at this bar, and it's really interesting because he gets these martinis and he takes the olive out, and you can see how many drinks he's had because he's putting the
Yes.
olives on the
Yeah.
toothpick in a
Yeah.
circle. And there's this woman sitting at the end of the bar, trying to get his attention. And they leave the bar
Yeah,
together
and the
in
thing
her
that
sorrow.
I thought was interesting is that incident with her tr trying to commit suicide and laying on the bed actually came from a real incident.
It really did. Yes. Right.
Where but the woman actually did die.
Did die.
Um,
Yeah.
I think it
Sad.
was IAL Diamond's girlfriend when he broke up with her, and it was someone in the
Oh,
cast or
that's right.
crew
Yep. That's
who
right.
broke up with
Yeah.
their girlfriend, and then they took
Yeah.
sleeping pills and died
So
on his bed.
they come back. They come back. He and
He and the
Baxter and this
woman.
girl
Yeah.
and this woman who's hysterical.
She's
He's
wacky.
got a husband who's in jail in Cuba.
Right. For
Who's a
drugging a
jockey.
horse.
He
Because
was a
he's
jockey.
a jockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
She
he
calls him
comes,
a little
a
chihuahua.
little chihuahua. Yeah. My little chihuahua. And you see the bedroom door is closed. And so, something obviously
Happened.
goes into the room to do something. And at first, it's kind of like this, oh, and close the door. And all of a sudden, he's like, wait a minute. Oh my
Right.
gosh. So he thinks she's just asleep.
Right.
And he goes over there to try to wake her, and she's not waking. And then, the pills drop out of her hand, and he gets
Yeah.
the whole picture and
The pill
rushes the
bottle.
girl out of there, runs down to his
Gets-
neighbor's apartment because he knows he's a doctor. And the doctor helps him revive her. And this actor is so great that plays his neighbor.
I know. I
Uh,
really like him too. He got
isn't it?
nominated.
He did get nominated. This movie was highly
An
nominated.
Oscar. Mhm.
Dr. Dreyfus, Jack Crugan or something like that. I think that's
Yeah.
how he's a
Uh-huh.
great character actor. And
Yeah.
he helps him. But, here once again, Jack Lemmon makes it look like he's the cad.
Right.
Well, I tried to break it off with her and she just couldn't handle it. Why he does these things is beyond me. Why he covers up for these people who are absolutely horrible and he just allows the neighbors to see him as this horrible person is beyond.
Yeah. Right.
And
It's the whole time then after she starts to recover that we actually see the
Their
connections
the
between
connection
the
with them.
two of them.
Well, and there's a really great scene after they know she's going to be okay and they've put
Mhm.
her to bed. The doctor pumps her stomach and, he says, get some coffee. We're going to have to get her. And by the way, this whole scene was guided by a real doctor
Mhm.
and told them exactly step by step what has to happen
Yep.
when you're bringing someone out of an
And
overdose.
some of it they had to cut out because it was too graphic.
It was pretty graphic, right?
Yeah.
Well, like someone said, she needs to be slapped harder by the doctor.
Right.
And it was pointed out, do you see how red her cheeks are? We're not going harder on this.
Yeah,
And
Billy
the thing
Wilder.
that Billy Wilder
She had
thought was so
bruises on her
amazing.
face.
Yeah. The Billy Wilder was like, she was all in on that movie.
Yeah.
And he
right.
really, he praised her quite a bit for her professionalism. He was always thought she was extremely professional.
Yeah.
So, they have to walk her up and down the apartment for a couple hours. And then, they put her to bed. And I really love this scene because this really is very telling when the doctor says, maybe my recommendation to you is that you just become a mensch.
I know. I love that.
And he goes, you know what mensch means? It means be a human being. Can you just be a human being? And the thing is, he's the only one that is a human being other than, Fran,
Right.
and the doctor. And it's like, yeah, I'll do better,
But I
it's
love
such
that
a
he
great-
uses that phrase when he tells Sheldrake what he can do with his job.
Right. Yeah, because you're right, they spend these next whole day and a half together. And she's like, I need to call my sister because she lives with her sister and brother-in-law.
It's actually 2 days because it's Christmas Day and the day after.
And it's been all this time. And she's like, he goes, what are you going to tell him?
Yeah.
And so then he takes it upon himself because she says something about Sheldrake not caring about her. And he goes, well, let me give him a call. It's Christmas Day. Let me give him a call. And he gives him a call. One of the sons answers the phone. Dad, it's person to person. And he's like, oh, well, you just go ahead and take care of her. It's Christmas Day. He makes all these excuses of why he can't go see her. And of course, Baxter is going to take care of her. He cares about her.
Yes.
And so he's like, you stay here. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to make us some dinner. And he's really excited to have her in his home. And he treats her with such respect.
Yes.
Something you can tell she's not used to. Like when it's so cute when she talks about how she tried to be a part of the secretary pool, and she could type really fast. Her spelling's just atrocious. So she got a job as the elevator girl,
Yeah.
and that's how things started to develop with Sheldrake.
Right.
And so he's like, well, why don't we play? Is it Pinochle they play?
Gin rummy.
Gin rummy, that's what it is. And she's like, I don't know. But he goes, I'll teach you. And so she's laying in bed in his bathrobe, and they start playing gin rummy, and they're just talking. It's just this
Yes.
casual,
Yeah.
easy. He asks nothing of her.
Right.
Because the doctor said, you're going to have to be her nurse.
Yeah.
She needs to be watched out for. And so then, she's just like, I don't feel very good. And he's like, I think you need something. You need some food. So he runs down the hallway, and the doctor's wife answers, and she's like, well, I'll make stuff for her, but you get nothing. I'm not making anything for you. And he's like, whatever. He doesn't care. He just wants to. So she makes her this really lovely soup, and she mostly gives her the broth, and she goes, you gotta get yourself back on your feet. And she's so kind to her.
Yeah,
That's
she
the thing you
is.
really get from his neighbors is they're really good people.
Oh, yeah, they are.
And
Yeah.
then the landlady comes up. What was that noise? What were you doing all night long, walking up and down? He goes, oh, I was taking dance lessons. I can't remember what excuse he gives her, but it's hysterical. But it's kind of like this 2 days, this 2 whole day thing, and he really tells her, you can't tell your sister why you're here, and
Yeah.
what kind of excuses are you going to give her? She's going to know it's not the truth.
Yeah.
And
You
she's
know,
kind of like, oh, yeah,
and I love during those days that she really starts to analyze her relationship with
right,
Sheldrake. And she says at one point, how come I'm always falling for unavailable men?
right,
Men who
right,
are really not worth
right.
it.
Well, and but he lies to her. Why he does this is beyond me. Oh
Yes, he
no,
does.
he really cared about you. I talked to him while you were sleeping, and he really, really, he's going
Yeah.
to make sure that everything's going to be okay. And she's like,
She
really? Oh.
knows.
And she's kind of like,
No,
okay,
she
like,
knows.
all right, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So,
I love it when
I
the
love the
day
whole,
the
yeah, go
day
ahead.
after Christmas when her brother-in-law goes to where she works to
Oh,
find
I love
out
it.
yeah,
Yes.
and then he shows up he shows up
Yeah,
at dinner.
one of the two executives who were using him ratted on him.
Oh yeah.
They ratted on him because they thought, wow, because remember that one guy does come in and
That's right.
sees that she's there, and he's like, this is a great scene, because she's in the kitchen with him, and she's like, why do you have a tennis racket in your kitchen? And he's like, well, it's for the pasta. It's to drain the pasta. And she's like, okay. And she puts it back like, all right, draining the pasta, whatever. So he makes her spaghetti and meatballs. And it's so adorable because he's using the tennis racket. Once again, Jack Lemmon is an acting genius. He was just amazing.
The
How he could
song
do all,
he's
and
singing
he's
while he's
singing and he's humming and he's making her all this stuff. And then he's got it all set up. He's got the table pulled out. They're going to sit
she's lit
down,
the
lit
candles.
the candles, and then the doctor shows up to check on her, and to make sure she's okay. Then the brother-in-law shows up, and he ends up, taking responsibility once again,
Right.
instead of telling the truth. And of course, he gets punched. He gets
And
punched a couple times.
it was a real punch because Jack Lemmon
Right.
didn't move the right way.
Right. I know. We didn't move the right way, so his lip is really bleeding,
And his
and
face and his eye is really
his
black.
eyes really bruised. And the doctor, and so she just, guys, Fran bends down and she's like, oh, why did you do this? She sees his kindness and she
Yeah.
kisses him, which makes him happy. She kisses him on the forehead.
Yeah.
The brother-in-law's like, let's get out of here. And he's like, all of a sudden got this smile on his face, like, oh, okay, everything's good. And he's got a bloody lip. And the doctor's like, you're going to have a shiner. Well, it's all these steps that take place where you see he's waking up. He's
And her
waking up
too.
to, and so is she, right? And
Yeah.
they're just their gentle development that they have together
Yes.
is very organic,
It
right? It's a
is.
very
It's
organic. Nothing about those scenes are forced.
no, uh-uh.
And I think it was handled so well. First of all, because she and Jack Lemmon, until he died, they were always remained very good friends.
Yeah.
They could rely on each other for things. They confided in each other, And by the way, this is at the time when she has become good friends with the entire Rat Pack. She's
Right.
good friends with, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr.,
Dean
Dean Martin,
Martin.
all of them.
Yeah.
They were like her big brothers.
Right.
So, they cared for her, and Jack Lemmon cared for her. She was just that kind of person that was very authentic. She never hid behind any facade.
Right. Yeah. I
And
do
and
have
that's
to
why.
say,
Go ahead.
and no, well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to say one thing funny from the trivia. The sale of tennis rackets went up a whole
Oh
bunch.
yeah, isn't that so funny of that particular brand? It's hysterical. Well, and I always kind of felt like I know he was would it get like 10 Oscar nominations or
I wrote
8
it
or
down.
something like that, but it won
10
5.
nominations and they won 5.
Yeah. And screenplay, directing. It was
Well,
the first
actually,
time that it won all 3 of the top things. Billy Wilder got director, writing, and picture.
yep,
That's the first time that ever
yep,
happened.
yep.
And I really always, every time I watch this, I'm like, man, Jack Lemmon, he should have
Yeah,
won.
he should have won.
I mean,
Yeah, he and Shirley
he's just a
MacLaine.
genius.
Of
I
course, I don't
totally
know what
agree.
they were. I don't know what their competition was, but yeah,
Right. I mean, it was probably pretty stiff.
yeah.
But there's a reason why this movie is in the list of things that it is,
All the
because
lists.
it's so amazing how I absolutely agree with Jack Lemmon. He grew a rose in a trash pail,
Right.
because it in all, if it was under anybody else's guidance, I don't think it could be what it turned out to be, which is, at the end of the day, the only time there's no kissing, hugging between her and Jack Lemmon and her and Baxter at all. Fran and they never are affectionate in that way with each
Well,
other
they
the
never
entire
even
time.
show that with
And they
her
don't
and
even show it,
her
period.
and Fred
It's always
MacMurray.
just talked about, right?
Yeah, none of the assignations have any kissing or
No,
hugging or
no.
yeah, none of
Well,
that.
and that's a really interesting thing to have in a movie that's basically about men using women for sex.
Right.
That's, none of those things are really what the point is. The
Yeah,
point is
the
the
point is
evolution
about
of these
Baxter and
these two
Fran.
characters
Yeah.
and how they find themselves.
Right.
Because Sheldrake um decides that he needs to fire his secretary. And then she proceeds to go out and pack up her things. And then you can see her thinking. And she's
Mhm.
like, and she makes a phone call to Sheldrake's wife.
Yep.
And it's off screen, but they meet up.
It's about time though,
And it's
finally.
about dang time, right?
Jeez. Yeah.
So
Because
obviously,
I think the secretary names about 5 women that
oh yeah,
he was
yeah,
having an affair with before Fran.
right, right. Because she was, and that's the thing that I like about that too, is you can see that the secretary did not take that lightly. She was trying to watch out for Fran. And I
Yeah.
think she began to realize the game that these men were playing was not a good game to play.
Right.
And they were using people in pretty horrible, selfish ways.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
she was trying to break that cycle, right?
Well, and I
In her
like that
own
she
way.
said, I like what the secretary says to him. I was one of the first, and then you made me sit out there and watch the
Watch.
parade of other women.
Right.
I mean, how despicable.
He's so despicable. So then she's just like, okay, I'm going next level here. I'm going to call the wife and let him know because, to me, that's women supporting women,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And she's like, okay, I tried to support Fran. That apparently doesn't seem to be working out. This man needs to be shown in a bigger way who he really is.
Yeah.
And
I
so
love and
when
I
she
love this.
calls,
Yeah, and I love that she leaves and then Baxter comes up
comes
and
right in,
he's
they cross each other.
rehearsing what he's gonna say, what he's
Yes,
gonna say.
yes,
And it is so funny
it's so good.
that Fred MacMurray's character says exactly
Oh
what
yeah, because he's
Baxter was
practicing. He's in his little office before he goes up and he goes, I'm going to take her off your hands.
right.
You don't need to do it anymore. I've decided I want to be with her. Blah, 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 blah. Right?
Right.
So he crosses past, Baxter crosses and he goes in and he's, and then you see as he walks into Sheldrake's office, all of Sheldrake's bags have been
Mm-hmm,
packed.
mm-hmm.
And as he starts to get the words out of his mouth, Sheldrake says, I'm going to take her off your hands. I've decided I've left my wife and I'm going to do the honest thing with her. And he's like,
He says almost exactly what.
he says almost a word for word, right?
Mr. Sheldrake, I've got good news for you. All your troubles are over. I'm going to take Miss Kubelik off your hands.
Mr. Baxter is here.
Send him in.
Sheldrake, I've got good news for you.
I've got good news for you, Baxter. All your troubles are over.
Sir?
I know how worried you were about Miss Kubelik. Well, stop worrying. I'm going to take her off your hands.
You're going to take her off my hands?
That's right, Baxter. I've moved out of the house. I'm going to be staying in town at the athletic club.
You left your wife?
Well, if you must know, I fired my secretary. My secretary got to my wife, and my wife fired me. Ain't that a kick in the head?
Well, yeah. He goes, I want the key to your apartment again. He goes, because, I'm going to need to be there. And he goes, and he hands it to him. And then he goes into his office, which is adjoining to Sheldrake's, his new big office.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm done. And Sheldrake goes, you gave me the wrong key. He goes, nope, I didn't give you the wrong key. Because it's to the executive restrooms.
Right.
And he's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't be a part of this anymore. I'm out. I quit.
But I
And
love what he says to Sheldrake when he leaves. I'm
Right.
gonna be a mensch.
I'm gonna be a mensch.
human
I'm finally
being.
gonna be a mensch. And
Yeah.
Sheldrake's like, whatever,
Yeah.
you're just another thing that happened, right? But of course, Sheldrake is also upset because he doesn't get that apartment anymore. Where is he
Right.
gonna go?
Right.
It's like, dude, you got the money, go find someplace else, right? And then it's New Year's Eve, and you see him at his apartment. He's packing up boxes,
Right.
and he's ready to go. He's like, I think he just feels so wounded and so hurt. He's like, I got to get out of New York. Essentially, this is not for me anymore. Whatever
Right.
this was is not what I can do anymore.
Right.
So then they show Sheldrake and Fran in this same little bar that they go to, and it's New Year's Eve, and everyone it's getting ready to be midnight, and everybody's starting to celebrate. And then he proceeds to tell her how, do you believe the nerve of Baxter? He quit. How dare he do that? How dare he quit on me and blah, 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 and everything I've done for him. And he turns away from her.
And first he says, this is the
Right.
key part. He says, he said, you cannot have the apartment if you're going to be there
You're going to
with
have Miss
Fran.
Fran.
Right.
He goes, if you're going to have Fran there, you can't have my apartment.
Right.
He goes, the nerve of him. How
Right.
disgusting of him. Can you believe that?
I
He's
love
not
the
going to
look
let
on
us
her
be
face.
together. And the look on her face, he turns
Yeah.
away and she's like,
And she's doing the beats, and then she smiles.
and then she smiles like, oh my God, I get it. And then he turns around and she's gone. And he's
Right.
like, where'd she go? And she's running down the street. I totally love when she's running down the sidewalk trying to hurry up and get to his place. And it's just so sweet because this is such a great complete ending, because he had told her this story. Jack Lemmon's character, Baxter, had told her this story about how when they had those 2 full days together, how he too, he was relating to her. Yeah, well, I tried to kill myself once because I thought I was in love with this woman and I, got a gun. I was trying to figure out how, because he goes, how do you do it? And he does all these examples and he goes, and then this police officer came up upon me and I accidentally shot myself in the knee. So she's climbing the stairs and she hears this pop, right? And she's like, ah! And she freaks out and she's pounding, Baxter, Mr. Baxter, Mr. Baxter. And she's pounding on the door. And he comes out and this champagne is spilling out all over the body. It's like, what? What are you doing here? She's like, oh, you're okay. And he's like, yeah, I'm just having some champagne.
Which was left by one of the guys, one of the four guys.
By one of the guys.
Yeah. We had a deal.
Right. Oh God. Right. So I just love it because, she makes sure he's okay. And she says like, where are you going? And he goes, oh, I got it. I'm done with this. I've had enough, And then doesn't she say something like, shouldn't we play a game? Why? He's like,
where are the cards?
Where are the cards? And he's like, well, they're over there. And she goes, oh, good. And and he's got this table set in front of his couch and she gets the cards out and he's like, what are we doing? And
we're going to finish our gin game.
We're going to finish our gin game. And I just love this part. He looks at her and he's like, I just love, he tells her how much he loves her. And she's like, kind of smiles. I'm like, I know.
She smiles at him and says, deal.
Shut
up and deal.
So cute. It's so cute.
It's one of the best ending lines.
It is. They did shows and it, like I said, once again, it's not about the romance. It's not about the affection of kissing and, oh, I love you. I love you. It's this really organic way that this film is done because
it's something deeper.
Not this overly done stuff. It's much more about human relationship, how you connect with people.
It's something deeper than just the physical attraction.
Right. Billy Wilder is so good at that. He was pure genius. And he's one of my favorite directors, actually. Because first of all, his body of work is amazing.
Yeah.
He never stayed pigeonholed in comedies or dramas or suspense. He could do anything.
Right.
He could make everything a rose. Everything was just amazing. And I know that actors loved working with him. Shirley MacLaine said he was one of her favorite directors because he allowed you to be organic in your character as well. Yeah. And you can tell that there was a complete comfort in this whole cast.
Yeah.
Nothing about this film feels forced.
Yeah, and the other thing that I love,
overt point, right?
Yeah, and I love the way they wrote the script because it shows that Baxter sees Fran for who she really is, and there's this whole thing about the brother-in-law says, your sister was worried about you. I know you're over 21. You can do whatever you want, but your sister still thinks you're a lady. There's still that idea of you're either a lady or you're
not. Yeah.
Or you're
the lady or you're not. And there's none of this gray area, right?
There's no gray area, but he doesn't see any of that.
No, he just sees her and he just cares for her and he doesn't care that she's had this affair with someone else. He doesn't see her as sullied or muddied or unlovable because of those things.
Yeah.
He is the real mensch.
Yeah.
And he's got real heart.
Yes.
His heart is so deeply caring and really he thought and I love when you can see that he's had this shift of I don't want to be like the rest of them. I don't want to work with people that use people.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy. And he's just decided he cannot, plain and simple. His new boundary is I'm not going to be with this. And I love that he stands up to Sheldrake and says, if you're taking her, you can't have my place. And the thing is, I love the whole thing of Sheldrake, like, what are you talking about? Like Sheldrake doesn't even get it.
He's so entitled.
He's so toxic and so entitled. Right. Yeah. And really, it's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
This, that, and it's before the phrase was even talked about, right?
Right.
But that's what this is. All these men and how they treat these women, and how some of the women made the agreement that it was okay.
Yeah.
But the women that did not make that agreement set their boundaries and said no. And his
Yeah.
secretary was really a catalyst for that when she decided she had to tell Fran, because
And
she's hurt. You can tell she's
and
hurting
his
for her.
wife. And his wife.
And then and then when she goes further than that, she tells the wife,
Yeah,
like, I'm done with this.
because all the guys that are playing around,
Right.
they're not just hurting the women
Oh,
that they're
right.
playing around with, they're hurting their families
They're
too.
hurting their families. Exactly. And it's really interesting there, that scene when Baxter decides to call Sheldrake the night that she had attempted, or the next day maybe even.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there in front of the Christmas tree with his sons playing with this particular toy.
Yeah.
And one of the sons says something about, you know, the inertia and blah blah blah, this very scientifically term. And Sheldrake's like, what? And to me, that's a subtle thing to tell you. Sheldrake isn't that smart.
Or he's not that connected to his
He's just
sons.
not even not smart and not connected to his children, to what they're even interested in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just this, he's going through the motions. And I also feel like many movies show this, that you can't make it anywhere if you're not married.
Right.
As a man, you're not going to be able to climb that corporate ladder if you're not married. So you almost kind of get the impression that he probably just married her just so he could climb the corporate ladder and
Could be.
happen to have these kids, because you're supposed to have the kids, you know. And it's, none of this is makes these men look like they're empathetic, compassionate. They're everything about being self-absorbed and just care about their title, their level of their title, and how they get there.
Right.
And all of this wrapped up. I mean, they label this movie a comedy, but it really is comedy drama,
Right.
because
I think
you
so
know,
too.
the other thing that was one of those things that they crossed that threshold is her obvious attempted suicide.
Yeah. Well, and that's
They
the
didn't
thing.
try to gloss over that at all.
That's the thing about both of the characters, is they both need to learn to love themselves. They both
Right.
have
Right.
uh they there's
They have self-esteem and self-worth issues.
yes,
You know,
and they kind of
she's
punish
going about her
themselves.
self-worth. Right. And they punish themselves because she goes about her self-worth through a different avenue than he does. His
Yes.
avenue is, if I give up my apartment, I'll finally get to make it to the top of the corporate ladder, and it's okay to compromise myself because I don't see my value.
Right.
You know, he doesn't see his value, so he
Right.
might as well do these things, right?
Right. Hmm.
Because, you know, it's what you do. That they've made that clear. This is how you work your way to the top.
Yeah.
And when he decides to change that, it changes everything for him. Everything changes.
Yeah.
He makes that shift into, wait a minute, I deserve so much better than this. You
Well,
know?
yeah, and she goes on the same journey. The
Right.
same. Well, she goes on it in a different way, but
Right.
she ends up realizing, oh, I love Baxter because he values me,
Values
and
her. Right.
and she values him after those 2 days when he took care of her.
And never asked anything of her. He
Right.
was just giving to her,
Right.
sharing with her, hey, you know, let's, you know, let's just talk. Let's
Yeah.
just spend time together. He was
Mhm.
happy with just having her in his space.
Yes.
And when she realizes that, first of all, there's a couple things that happen without it being obvious as well, is when Sheldrake says, "Oh, he wouldn't let me have the key if I was going to be with you." And all of a sudden she realizes he doesn't care that she's been with Sheldrake. She
Right.
sees that. He sees
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
He doesn't see the situation. as it being yucky,
What
and I
he's
love that.
what he sees, what Baxter sees is that Sheldrake is a cad
Is a cad.
and he's going to use her.
Well, I mean,
That's why he doesn't want.
there's that whole thing that's being said, and I'm not saying it's 100% true, but for many decades, it was a leopard does not change his spots.
Right.
I'm pretty sure if it had continued where they got married, he would just do the same thing to her.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is I think it's a narrative that had been around for a long time where a lot of men just got married to get married.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't there it was such a toxic environment of men and corporate men and men working in the corporate world that because you got to get married so you can climb the corporate ladder and look like you're a good family man,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really do it for love. And I'm not saying every man was like that, but man, there's a lot of movies of these classic films that definitely display that.
Yeah.
And hey, are you married? And then it's kind of this little competition of, well, the guy over there that has the relationship and is married may get that promotion above me because I'm not married. You know,
Well, yeah, and there's sort of a correlation between the guys in business who are
yeah,
the kings of business,
right,
uh, and royalty, because it was sort of accepted that you marry in royalty or in
right,
the higher upper classes, they married for status, for
status,
money,
right,
for whatever, and it wasn't
promotion.
love.
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't love. Right.
and
Well,
and
I mean,
and so they
you're
could
right.
have affairs.
It's kind of like this accepted social norm,
Right.
and it wasn't because marriages weren't arranged anymore. They made their own arrangements
Right.
to make it happen so they could look like
Yeah.
this false narrative of them being a white
Right.
picket fence
Because
family.
that happened in the United States as well. There were marriages
Oh
that
yeah.
happened
Yeah.
in the upper classes that
Right.
were just for prestige or power or money
Right.
or whatever it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I mean, you know, uh you hear about that in the Gilded Age they call that, that, and
Hmm.
I think it did carry over from Europe as they were coming over as immigrants. I do think that absolutely happened
Hmm.
because I've read books where, if you make these proper family connections,
Hmm.
we can all work together and grow our own little empire kind of thing.
Right.
So you're right. I mean, that it still wasn't that long ago that those things and I think it still happens. I still think amongst, the very, very wealthy, I think those things still happen.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's just not obvious to us who live the lives that we live,
Hmm.
you know.
Because we're
So
menches.
we're menches, right? Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm a mensch. Well, I mean, it's a really interesting movie to do with all the stuff that's going on right now.
Hmm.
Because it's so obvious how this kind of behavior develops into something that is so horribly unhumane and
Yeah,
and not caring about anybody but yourself.
I know. Yeah.
And what this is so representative of is the bigger picture that it's
Yeah.
happening right now.
Yeah.
So, I Billy Wilder handled this in such an amazing way, and he chose the right cast. All the four men that are originally using his apartment at every level. It's I think Paul Douglas, no, being a Paul Douglas fan, he would have been fantastic.
He would have been.
But Fred McMurray,
Is good. He's
that
so good.
cold, emotionless,
Oh yeah.
um like he's the victim.
Yeah, the gaslighting kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Gaslighting is perfect. Manipulation, emotional
Mm-hmm.
manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
That's abusive,
Yeah.
and absolutely 100% narcissistic.
Yeah.
You're the bad guy. I'm not.
Right.
How dare you do this to me
Right.
when I've done this for you? You
Right.
know, I mean, and I think the thing is, that's the way it works when you finally set your boundaries. They do whatever they can to make it look like you're the bad guy,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
movie does such a good job of showing that is so not the case. And they
Yeah.
don't allow that manipulation to continue. And
Yeah.
these two wonderful main characters, absolutely, they you love them
Because they get out.
because they get out of it. I mean, there's the one scene where um Fran and Sheldrake are together, and he's all, sweet talking her and stuff, and and he goes, "You changed your hair. I liked your hair long."
Yeah.
And she obviously cuts it off to spite him
Right.
because she knows she wants to make him mad.
Yeah.
And in her own emotionally immature way, it was her way to get back at him.
Yeah.
Where earlier she and Baxter, "Oh, you changed your hair. Oh, I like it. It looks really good."
Yeah.
It's
Right.
just this offhanded, and she's like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you see these slow developments
Yeah.
of how she is able to see this contrast.
Well, and it's also sweet when she says he's going up to talk to Sheldrake, and so she gives him her
Oh yeah, the little
flower.
flower. I
And then
love
she
it.
says, you're the only one who takes your hat off in the elevator, and you're the only one who says hello to me and
Right.
talks to
You
me.
say good morning and you say good night every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
You're
So
the only one that makes it
this
like
is
I'm mean.
way before anything,
Hey, hey.
else happens, but we see their mutual respect for each other.
Right. And how she acknowledges it. He
Mhm.
acknowledges her, and
Mhm.
how, her sweet, compassionate way, like you say, with the flower. "Oh, if you want to impress them, here, let's give you a flower
And he
in
goes,
your
you know
lapel."
what? That was something I noticed about you. You always wear flowers.
Yeah. And that is such a great emotional slow development of who these people really are. You see who they are with
Yeah.
these little snippets of their conversations with each other.
Yeah.
And the two of them are just fantastic. And there's every reason to watch this film. Once again, none of his films are forced.
No.
Nothing is a
Yeah.
forced
It's
conversation.
it's
It's
not
just so
forced. The
organic.
audience is not forced to take sides or
No,
to
they're not.
he's
Right.
just presenting it.
And he presents it with absolute perfection. And
Yeah.
and I love how, I watch Turner Classic Movies, and it's on there a lot
Hmm.
and various reasons. And
Hmm.
I think it's a great film study. If you decide
Hmm.
you want to be a filmmaker or a script writer, because it is a seamless script as well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's a good place for us to transition. And we haven't even talked about what we're going to watch next. So what I was thinking, maybe Memoirs of a Geisha.
Yeah, I think we should do a little bit more. Memoirs of a Geisha is one of my all-time favorite books.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite films as well. I've been
Yeah.
trying to get Ariel to watch it with me because this is another one of those stories that is shocking to the system, knowing that during this time, families selling off their daughters
I know.
because they were so poor.
Well, it's tragic what actually happens to her parents, her sister and her parents.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to her too, but
Well, yeah,
she's somehow resilient.
she really is. And
Yeah.
that's, let's just say that about these two characters in the apartment. They're resilient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
Resilient
are.
is a great description of I think all the characters that you and I love. I think resiliency is is key to
Yes.
being able to change the and have your boundaries.
Yeah.
because you have to have this inner, wait a minute, I'm not doing what is my integrity.
Right.
You know, and that's what Memoirs of a Geisha is. I mean, oh my gosh, everything she goes through, she is resilient. Yeah, so I think we should do Memoirs of a Geisha next as well. I agree.
Okay, cool. All right. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to go find us on
Oh my
Facebook
God.
and make comments.
Right.
Some people have been making comments, so I'll have to go
Yeah, make comments. These are,
and answer.
as Lucinda and I make it very clear, film changed our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We have used film as a tool to grow and learn and to do better.
Self-discovery.
It's self-discovery. And those are the kind of films that we always look for. There's
Yes,
plenty of films out there that I just go, what?
I know. Why
And
did
we're not
they
going to
make
talk about
this?
those films ever,
Yeah, why did they make this film?
Yeah. And why was it so popular?
Yeah, really. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
get it.
So you guys watch this movie.
Thank
See you
you and
later.
see you next time. Bye.
Bye.